Hi, I'm Sheila. Thanks for joining me. Two things that I want to talk about. Two separate things that happened that got me to thinking about this. One, in my last video, there were an awful lot of women who said that they were no longer even desiring to be in relationships, which I found it odd because I actually thought that most of the women in my who come to my channel are in my age group, and I'm 64. And a lot of those women are very spiritual. I know I'm spiritual, if not religious, but spiritual. And so the fact that they have decided to do something that kind of goes against biblical teachings, which is why, God wanted us paired up 2 by 2, I found fascinating. And I had a conversation with my daughter about her future, and she needed to decide whether she wanted to be a single woman or whether she wanted to be in a relationship. And both of these things actually tie together. So without further ado, but first I would like to say, anybody in Florida, do whatever they tell you to do. I have never gone through anything like flooding, although I had my studio apartment, the sewer backed up into it. And from that moment on, I said I would never live on the first floor again. And I never saw that apartment the same, even though they did what's considered a hazmat type of cleanup. I was really ready to go after that. So I can't imagine losing everything and having to rebuild. So I just pray for your safety and hope this turns out not to be as devastating as they say it might be. Let's get on with the video.
Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day.
Just because I have sorted through my past, what I consider mistakes and miscalculations, and I have a better handle of how I need to proceed in the future, does not mean I will end up with a relationship. But if I do, I have a better chance of making it last until death do us part. I just wanted to say that. Now, a lot of you know that my first marriage ended in divorce because basically I started the business. And it wasn't so much because I started the business, but when my husband and I got married, he specifically wanted a stay-at-home wife. Now, when finances got tight, he didn't mind me, doing a little something part-time because you know what? Men have egos, and especially men who are involved in the church. They really want to be seen as men who take care of their little family. Never mind that, our daughter didn't come along for 3 years. So basically, I'm sitting around the house by myself out in the middle of nowhere because there's no cable out that way, okay? Now, I did have a car, but money wasn't plentiful. That's when I learned how to coupon. And that is why to this day, I will not do coupons. I just refuse to do them. But back then, I became a coupon queen. And I learned to cook, I learned to sew, I learned to crochet, I learned how to have a small garden. I actually taught myself a lot in those couple of years that I was a stay-at-home wife with no children to take care of. But once, our daughter came along and the economy changed, well, at this point, I'm capable. I've had a job since I was 17. And so we agreed that I would do a little something. My biggest problem came when I tried to turn that little something into boss bitch status. Excuse my French, because you all noticed I have not cussed in the last, 3 or 4 of my videos, because these days I'm feeling more like myself. And I'm more, I guess, I hate to say it because it's such a cliche, but I am feeling more in my femininity, okay? So that was the real problem. But what you all don't know is in that time period, I got really, really sick to the point that we thought, and I was pregnant with my daughter at the time, to the point that we thought I might die. It was the only time I ever saw my husband cry. And so you add that to the pressures of I kind of need to help out financially, I feel like in my heart I can forgive myself for pursuing the let's see how far I can take this business. From being a little under the table thing, can I really make this business viable as a legitimate, successful business? So I have forgiven myself for that. And I think over the years, my ex-husband has also forgiven me because he had time to think about what I might have been going through and why I wanted to push so hard with that business. Because now we're friends. But I can't say the same thing about Leroy. There was no reason for me to take a contract for a year to see how it would go. And it took the whole family village to help me fulfill that contract because I had so many responsibilities and so much to do that, Leroy had to kick in. My daughter actually had to clean her own bathroom, and she was appalled, okay? So for me to, after we finally get through that first year, where I basically abdicate everything, the house, raising my daughter, the relationship, and then for me to turn around and pick up the other 2 years of the contract was a slap in the face to everybody. Now my daughter's like, Mom, when are you going to be home? There's some things I want to talk to you about. Now Leroy's like, babe, damn, we can't even do date night anymore. I mean, why are we even here? Because it seems like your whole life is wrapped up in that contract in your business. And they both had every right to feel that way. So here's what I think, because, I can admit my mistakes. And the conversation I had with my daughter was along the same lines. My daughter is an LPN, and she went through clinicals when she was in college. Now, and she got a job right out of college, and she has been with that same doctor since since she graduated from college. So she's been there, oh my God, 10 years? Because she's what? Oh, she's going to hate me. See. Anyway, I'm going to say 10 years. She decided she wanted to be a surgical nurse. And see, my daughter gets her ambition from me and her dad, okay? And her stepdad, because she saw him start his business from scratch. So she gets it honestly. But my thing is, don't make the mistakes that I made. It took me a couple of years to mend the relationship with my daughter because I wasn't there to give her that first talk about menstruation. She had to go to my ex-husband's girlfriend for that talk. I wasn't there. Sure, I provided all the financial stuff. So she lived in a big fancy house. We had prom at our house. Everybody came to our house to meet for the kids to go to prom and take pictures, in front of the nice lawn and everything. But some of the little things I wasn't there for. Do you know that my daughter did not know you can adjust your bra straps until maybe 8 years ago? Because I never taught her that. And so it is really, really important for me to make sure that her desire to accomplish doesn't get in the way of her parenting my little 3-year-old grandson. And she doesn't really have time for a relationship unless it's just a quick hit and miss. So here's the thing. She recently went back to school to be a surgical nurse. That means she has to go through clinicals all over again. And anybody in the medical field knows how hard clinicals are. So it has taken the whole village, me, my ex-husband, baby daddy, my fake son-in-law, even though they're not together, as well as her job, to accommodate this schedule of hers. And my conversation with her was, let this be your last degree. Because without all of us pulling together, you would have never got this done. And this is not something you can keep asking us to do. I said, not to mention the fact that you are going to you are going to put yourself in a position where you're never going to find someone that you consider an equal in this area. Let's be honest. When black men achieve to a certain level, they either choose white or maybe they're gay. But if they choose black women, there are so many highly successful black women that he's got 15 different women on his roster. And I told her, I said, if you keep moving up this ladder, there is going to be, no one for you to date unless you date outside of your race. I said, but if you only want to date a black man, then at this point, look at blue-collar black men. Look at somebody who owns his own plumbing company or his own roofing company. I said, and make sure he's got a good foundation so he is not the person doing all the work. Now, my ex-husband and I, we had such control issues that sure, I had employees, but I was always right there, in case somebody did something wrong or somebody didn't come in, and so I would do it myself. Well, that is not the way you grow a business. Not for real, for real. So I don't want her to fall into that category. So between her job and her going back to school, she also owns a business. And I like the way she's doing it. She has employees who go out without her. And that is the way I did it for a while until it became really hard to find employees. And she understands if she ever gets to that place where she can no longer have employees that she trusts and she feels the need to back the business down and only do it herself, well, then that's fine. But she also still has her job. Does that make sense? So, my fear is that I know that she does not want to end up alone at 64. I don't want her to make the mistakes that I made. And I also told her, do not buy a house. Because no decent man, and here's the point, no decent man is going to move into your house. Because again, it's a male ego thing. Now, I don't know if this makes sense to you all or not, and maybe it has some play, and maybe it doesn't. But I have a Capricorn moon. So I actually kind of understand how men behave. I know for me, yes, I loved being in a relationship, but once I got this urge to build, then that's what I was going to do. And I just assumed the relationship would just work around me. Because isn't that isn't that the typical way relationships work? The man is a builder, the woman takes care of everything else so he can do his thing. So once I got the decision that I need to build, I just assumed everybody was going to be there and be supportive. And they were. But nobody wants to do that all the time unless that is what they agreed to. And in my case, that was not the agreement. In my case, it was me who played the support role so my ex-husband could build. With Leroy's case, we came into it equally. We both had jobs. Then I restarted my business, and he helped me with that. Then he started his business, and then we were equal. But when I took that contract, that put me up here. We're not equal anymore, and now I'm asking him to make all kinds of sacrifices. And for me to accept the last 2 years of the contract was a slap in his face, and he said, I'm done. And he had every right to feel that way. Every right. So with her, where does this end? And realize the higher you go, the less chance you have of finding an equal, unless you look in a different sector for your equal. Outside of your race, or in not a white collar kind of thing, but a blue collar kind of thing. And that's why I told her, don't buy a house. Because like I said, no decent man's going to move in your house. And I feel like this may be the problem with a lot of African American women, and I guess maybe white women too, in my age range. Because we all bought into the boss bitch thing. Because see, the time and energy it takes to be a boss bitch means you neglect everything else. Your kids, your house, your mate. Ask me how I know. And that's how you end up being angry because the relationship didn't work out. Or, even worse, you bought that house and this guy moves in with you. Well, like I said, no decent guy is going to move into a woman's house. He's not going to. So you ended up with a guy who turned out not to be decent. You got your feelings hurt, you got your heart hurt. Now you just don't want anybody. I don't think we're supposed to be alone like that. Now, I'll be the first person to say that, like, just like a man, I did the things I wanted to do despite being in a relationship. So when the relationships broke down, I couldn't be mad. But then there came a point where I decided there's nothing else I want to build. There's nothing else I want to do. I am ready now just to settle in to a loving relationship. And I don't have a house, and that was one of the reasons why I never wanted to buy a house. Because no man is going to move into my house. If you bought a house and you're not willing to sell it, well, you know, now you're sabotaging yourself. I mean, I know this is not something that especially black women want to hear, but men are not like us. They don't look at things the way we do. A good man is going to be like my ex-husband. He's going to want to provide for his wife and his children. And Leroy wasn't even my husband, but he had the same mindset. When we got together, I had a 2-bedroom townhouse. He had a 1-bedroom apartment. He could have easily said, well, I'll move in with you. That's not what he said. He goes, here, this is how much money I can afford max. Find us something with 2 to 3 bedrooms. That's what he says. See, that's what a man does. A soy boy will move into your house and throw you a couple of $100s. If women are so disgusted with men that they no longer want relationships, it's because they ended up with the wrong men in the past. But all men aren't like that. But the good men are not going to put up with you being boss bitch and leaving them to do the housework. Oh, sure, a man will help a little bit, but you know, a man doesn't feel like that's his job. And so he's going to resent you. He's going to resent you. And the first thing men do when they resent a woman, if they don't have the character to just move out, they cheat on you. They cheat on you. So, you know, I don't know how much backlash I'm going to get from this video. But my thing is, I don't think anybody should end up by themselves. And yeah, maybe you made some, you know, some tactical errors in the past that you didn't even realize, you know, the consequences they would have. But it doesn't mean you can't think about things now. I told my daughter she better not buy a house. You don't buy a house until you either make the decision that you don't want a man, because that's the biggest thing that buying a house will tell to a good man, that you didn't want a man, but every worthless ass nigga with baggy pants and a low paying job will go, ooh, girlfriend got a house. Or you wait until the right man comes along and y'all buy that house together. And I don't want to hear no stuff about, well, you lose so much money when you rent. Well, you know what? You lose money on them beauty products that don't work. You lose money when you go to Starbucks. People lose money on shit all the time. You lose money on a whole wardrobe when you gain weight and can't wear none of it. People lose money all the time. But we're talking about something that will change the trajectory of your life. And in my honest opinion, a single woman buying a house changes the trajectory of her life. Unless she really did just want to stay single. So, there you go. I said what I said. Take care, stay blessed. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.